It's Monday night, and we're sharpening our takes. You're tuned into The Cut, hosted by Thomas Roth.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of The Cut. I am your host, Thomas Roth, and we are produced by the incomparable Anthony Aquendo, owner of Cracked Repair Studios. And here at The Cut, we are all about fostering a relationship of authentic takes through a good conversation, giving you everything you want to know about the world of sports and everything going on around it, whether that be contracts that are coming out, whether that be the college football playoff, the NBA games, the NFL season, WWE, parlays, fantasy football, golf, whatever. We've got it here for you. Thank you for joining us tonight, and a special shout out to our sponsors, Cracked Repair at www.crackedrepair.com. You're going to be able to go up there. You're going to be able to find them on the website. You're going to be able to call. You're going to be able to get a really easy quote that's going to be competitive with any price around here. Anthony is fantastic. He's going to get your phone back up and running, because I bet you are watching this on your phone right now with a cracked screen. My brothers and sisters, a mall. It's not a mall anymore. That's not what I said. That's what they tell me. So go visit him in person or online. Tell him that Tom from The Cut sent you. You won't get a better deal or anything, but he'll just feel good knowing that someone's sending someone to him. So awesome. I'm really excited to jump into all this with you guys tonight, because we had a lot go on the past couple of days. We're going to be getting into a couple different topics tonight. We're going to hit it off with the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have hit a bit of a cold spot right now in their otherwise hot start. We're going to be getting into the NFL season. Some wild stuff happened yesterday during some games. I think it's imperative that we talk about that. We're going to talk about the new money man, Juan Soto, in the MLB, 26 years old, and that man is making bank right now, brother. And hey, get your money. I respect it. And we're going to finish the night off talking about the college football playoff, and we're going to recap a game that I found amazing, and that was the Oregon and Penn State game. So before we get into anything, you guys, please like the video, comment on the video, interact with us here tonight. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you can continue to get great content from us every week. We might expand into more here soon. We don't know. But super thankful that you guys have rocked with us all year. As we have transitioned recently from a more current events political space to a sports space. There's going to be a lot more crazy stuff that goes on over the course of the next year. As we wind this year down, I'm super thankful for everyone tuning in and being fans of us. I can't wait to bring you more stuff as this podcast develops. So let's talk about the Cleveland Cavs a little bit, guys. So the Cavaliers, Anthony's going to be bringing up a graphic here. The Cavs are more well known than anything, I feel, for being the team that LeBron James came to in 2003. Was never really able to get over the hump. Went to the finals in, I believe it was 2007, against the San Antonio Spurs. Got swept, unfortunately, but when your second best player is Larry Hughes and Donyell Marshall is your three-point threat, you're probably not going to win against the greatest player of all time in Tim Duncan and his cohorts of Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili. And then LeBron leaves. He takes his talents down to South Beach. We all know the story. We all know all of it. He comes back. Cleveland, this is for you. And then he goes to the Lakers. I think that's what the Cavs are best known for. But recently, in recent years, I should say, since probably 2018, when the Cavaliers kickstarted their rebuild by selecting Colin Sexton and then subsequently picking Darius Garland the next year, they signaled a total change of the guard and picking these smaller, undersized guards, pairing them in the backcourt, almost like a Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum in the Portland Trailblazers situation. Didn't really work out. They had some success, but it was really the arrival of Evan Mobley as a rookie from USC that sparked everything changing. Evan Mobley, number 4 for the Cleveland Cavaliers, is a young superstar in this league that's budding. There are very apt comparisons to Kevin Garnett, one of my all-time favorite NBA players. And then we get Jared Allen, the Fro. He comes over. And, we're getting some success. We're doing the thing. We're winning some games. But there was another piece that was needed. And the Kobe Altman and the front office go out and swing a humongous trade, foregoing the investment they made in Darius Garland and the emergence of Lauri Markkanen, and bringing in number 45, Donovan Mitchell. So we've had Donovan for a few years now. There was a big will he, won't he stay type thing. And Donovan Mitchell, for the most part, has given no indication he's not happy in Cleveland. In fact, it's been the direct opposite. There's been no correlation there. Donovan Mitchell has embraced the city, and he says, this is my home now. And we're winning games, and we got it to the second round of the playoffs last year after beating a very good and young Orlando Magic squad. But we just ran into the buzzsaw that is the eventual champion Boston Celtics. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum really leading that team with Kristaps Porzingis, Peyton Pritchard, Derek White. Those guys were just a buzzsaw. And I remember being in the hospital with my son. My son was hospitalized earlier this year, and I was real nervous. And the only thing that could kind of get my mind off of it was watching Cavaliers basketball in his hospital room with him. And it seemed to kind of calm him down a bit too. So I was really thankful for that. But sappy shit aside, the Cavs get bounced in the second round, and we have a coach, John Blair Bickerstaff, and unfortunately he got shit canned and went to the Detroit Pistons, which was a great move, guys. JB is a culture builder. He's a team builder. And the Detroit Pistons are a young team, and they needed to be molded. He molded the Cavaliers into a good team, but they needed to get over that hump, right? And they bring in a hire that wasn't necessarily the sexy hire, but it was a hire of a man who has had sustained success in the NBA, most recently spending time with the Golden State Warriors on their staff under Steve Kerr, and before that was the coach of the Brooklyn Nets, and that was Kenny Atkinson. And since Kenny Atkinson has taken over, we've seen a complete change in the way that the Cavaliers play basketball. And Anthony actually has created a graphic for us, a little video recapping basically the entire season. So Anthony, if you want to press how they've started the year. So we start game 1, Cavs win. Game 2, Cavs win. Lakers, Cavs win. They beat the Magic. And then they lose, and then they win against the Bucks in back-to-back games. They beat the Pelicans, the Warriors, the Nets, the Bulls, the Sixers, the Bulls again, the Hornets. And it wasn't until, guys, November 19th that the Cavs lose a game. They're almost a month into the season, and they fall to the champion Boston Celtics by 3 points. They were down a couple players that game, but they still came in and they balled out. And then they recover by absolutely blowing out the New Orleans Pelicans, that's led by Zion Williamson and his Raising Cane's gut. Blow out the Raptors, which should happen because, the Raptors are not a very good team. They were at one time. They won a championship within the last 5 years when Kawhi Leonard was on the team, but then Kawhi bolts for the Clippers, and that whole thing happens. But like the LeBron thing in Cleveland, you win a title, you're good there forever. Kawhi is loved in Toronto, and he always will be. And then, you're kind of going through. The Hawks beat us back-to-back games. The Hawks are not a good team, led by Trae Young and his receding hairline. And they picked number 1 overall in the NBA draft this year, and they actually picked Victor Wembanyama, the San Antonio Spurs number 1 pick last year. They picked his fellow countryman Zachary Rechier, who is a wing player, combo wing, guard forward, doing well for himself, but not really playing like that number 1 overall pick type thing. But I'm pretty sure that kid's gonna come into his own. And then after we lose 2 in a row, we come back and we beat the Celtics, the defending NBA champions who we lost against earlier in the year, absolutely annihilate the Washington Wizards. And then, that was December 3rd. And there's only been a few games since then, Anthony. I think we have a couple more games on there. They beat the Nuggets and Nikola Jokic. They beat LaMelo Ball and the Hornets. And then unfortunately, they lose yesterday to the Miami Heat. It was like 111-120. Sitting at 21-4. I don't think anyone suspected that would be the case for the Cavaliers this year, especially with the new head coach. But here's the thing, guys. Kenny Atkinson is not the same Kenny Atkinson that coached the Brooklyn Nets, right? Kenny Atkinson had to go to Steve Kerr and learn basically how to coach these guys again, basically get a masterclass in coaching from one of the best coaches of the past 15 years. And Atkinson is not afraid to experiment. Okay? His biggest thing this offseason was taking our young guy, Evan Mobley, and transforming him into a more confident and competent player. Okay, Evan Mobley is being used at a higher rate of shooting threes. I think the other night he splashed 3 in the first quarter alone and finished with 41 points. The Cavs are only going to go as far as Evan Mobley takes them. I understand they have Donovan Mitchell. I understand they have the defensive presence of Jarrett Allen, and they have Darius Garland facilitating plays. And the Cavs can also go 10 deep, right? Ty Jerome, little white boy coming out there at point guard and just dropping dimes. Georges Niang, who's a spot-up shooter and is actually the winningest NBA player over the last 5 seasons. He has the most win shares out of anyone over the last 5 seasons, which is absolutely insane. Drippy Dean Wade coming out there and just absolutely balling for us when we need him. Isaac Okoro, who we drafted with the 8th overall pick back in 2020, has not turned into that Andre Iguodala type player that we thought he'd be. Well, I thought he'd be when he came out, but Isaac Okoro has really transformed himself into that 3-and-D type player that that coaches and players and fans in NBA circles just absolutely love. So when we see these guys evolve and actually be used in the right way in a system, it parlays into more success, right? And we're doing this also without one player who's a key piece of our rotation, and his name is Max Strus. Max Strus was an absolutely prolific spot-up shooter, signed with us not this past offseason, but the offseason before, came over, and Max Strus was an absolutely prolific spot-up shooter, signed with us not this past offseason, but the offseason before, came over, and just absolutely fits like a glove in this system. And when he comes back, I am actually so excited to see how the Cavs incorporate him and make it so that Evan Mobley is more open to operate. And it parlays well for Donovan Mitchell because, guys, Donovan Mitchell is not a superstar by any factor of the imagination, but Donovan Mitchell is an absolute star. Okay. Donovan Mitchell is going to drop 25 points and give you 5 assists a night, and he's good for four or 5 threes a game on most nights, right? But Donovan Mitchell, unfortunately, is the victim of playing in smaller markets his whole career. And that's even going back to college. Now, when I say a small market in college, he played at Louisville. So Louisville, being in Kentucky, is the younger brother of the University of Kentucky Wildcats. Unfortunately, Louisville, after losing their head coach, Rick Pitino, is not on that level of the University of Kentucky, especially now with Mark Pope leading the University of Kentucky. Now what you're seeing, Donovan Mitchell getting drafted to the Utah Jazz, a historically small market franchise that has had a lot of success and was paired with Rudy Gobert. That pick and roll was absolutely insane. And then you pair Mike Conley Jr., Ohio State alum, in there. You're going to have some success, but they can never get over that hump and win a title. But it's going to be really hard to get over that hump and win a title when you've got the Washington, when you've got the Golden State Warriors in there, and when you've got the Los Angeles Lakers, you've got the Los Angeles Clippers, the San Antonio Spurs to a lesser extent. So it was a time to change for Donovan Mitchell as well, and then he goes to the Cavaliers, which are notoriously a small market. But the thing that I hate about that is that Dan Gilbert knows, the owner of the Cavaliers knows he's in a small market, but he's not afraid to spend money, right? He's going to go over that first apron, that second apron to ensure that he gets a championship, because we don't need LeBron James to win you a title, because LeBron James isn't going to live forever, and he's not going to be around in the NBA forever. We're seeing Father Time catch up to him very quickly. And unfortunately, people believe that we need LeBron James to win a title. I don't think that that's the case. We're playing at a faster pace right now. We're spacing the floor at a amazing clip, and we're moving the ball around with ball movement in such a way that people are getting touches that are confusing and making mismatches for the opposing team. When you play against the Philadelphia 76ers, you're going to have great perimeter defense with guys like Tyrese Maxey and his first name escapes me, but his last name is McCain. And then you have Joel Embiid and Paul George, right? So great perimeter defense and prolific scoring from those guys. But the Cavs are able to take that, and they're able to minimize the touches that those other teams get through ball movement, holding onto the ball, passing around, taking them out of their rhythm so they can't be doing fast breaks all up and down the court and scoring the way that they want to score. And the Cavs are shooting at an amazing, they're over 40% right now from the three-point range. That's historic. I do not believe at 21-4 that the Cavs set the all-time NBA season wins record, beating the 73-9 Golden State Warriors. The year that they lost the title to the Cleveland Cavaliers, they did that. But I do believe that they approached the 60-win mark, barring any injuries. And I do think that we have some expiring contracts that if we start to kind of stagnate a little bit around that trade deadline, we could go in and pull in a couple people that could parlay a little bit of success for us. I don't think that you're going to see a trade that rivals, Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo from the New York Knicks being traded for Karl Anthony Towns. I don't think that you're going to see a trade like that. In fact, I think that that would be asinine to break up our core four, or even not even break them up, but bring someone in to make it a Fab Five. I don't think with the way that the team is constructed that you need like a Fab Five. I think you need your core four and then all the surrounding pieces that come with that, right? Tristan Thompson, for instance. Thompson drafted number 4 overall by the Cleveland Cavaliers in the 2011 NBA draft, the year that Kyrie Irving went number 1. No, that was 2012. Whatever year the strike was, I don't remember. But Kyrie and Tristan were drafted together. Tristan leaves for a little bit. He plays for Boston. He plays for Indiana. He plays for Chicago. He plays for the Lakers for a little bit, but then he comes home. And you need a guy like Tristan Thompson on your team to be that glue guy, to be the rebounder, to really instill in these younger guys what the Cleveland culture is. Because after LeBron left Cleveland the second time and went to the Lakers, everyone was calling that the Cleveland Cavs weren't going to be that great. But Tristan Thompson said, we're still the Eastern champs and the East runs through us. Knowing damn well that was a lie, but he bought into that Cleveland culture and he bought into the city, right? And the city loves him. He can't keep his dick out of anyone and cheats on Khloe Kardashian like it's crazy. But I respect the man for really buying into our culture and loving our city. So guys like that are what you need in that locker room to sustain the success that we are having. I'm not saying that I believe the Cleveland Cavaliers can win a title this year. I think this is a really fast start. I don't know if it's sustainable. I think a lot of shots are falling for him, and I think that we've gotten really lucky not being bitten by a serious injury bug. I mean, Evan Mobley did go down last night against the Heat. He was in a walking boot. All signs point to he's okay, but it would be absolutely catastrophic to lose a guy like Evan Mobley, who our entire defenses, our offense and defense is predicated on, and it would mess up the flow. So I think we're on the right track, and I'm really excited to see what the Cavaliers are going to do, where they're going, and do they win a title this year? I don't know. I think that Boston's still the team to beat, and I think if we can get past the Celtics, as Kevin Garnett would say, anything is possible. Or I like saying anything is possible because I like Henny. But I really want to give a huge shout out to Kenny Atkinson and the job that he's done, though, because without him, I don't think Donovan Mitchell stays. I think Donovan Mitchell was intimately involved in that coaching search, as he should be. And Donovan Mitchell is our stud, and Evan Mobley is our future. We keep these guys, we keep the train rolling, we're going to be just fine. So, if you guys like that content, don't be afraid to like the video and share it and comment on it. You know, we would love to get some fan interaction in here. But now I would like to switch to another topic that I had a Zen in yesterday, and I was setting up a Christmas tree with my wife and her friend Celia. Well, they were setting it up, and I was sitting drinking a mixed drink and watching National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. But I got that thing from my phone, ESPN, and it said that breaking, Juan Soto and the New York Mets are in agreement on a 15-year, $765 million contract. Anthony, do you have that graphic by chance? Just so people can actually see it and see how wild that is. Yeah. So, what I really want people to read is up there. Juan Soto and the New York Mets are in agreement on a 15-year, $765 million contract. It is the largest deal in professional sports history. That means MLS, any money in the international soccer football leagues, NBA contracts, live golf contract, anything. This is the largest deal in sports history. This young man is 26 years old. 26 years old, guys. And he got traded to the New York Yankees last year. Came in, was a big part of their World Series push at 26. Some guys aren't even in the league at 26 because they're still in developmental AAA or single A or double A ball. But Soto had a meteoric rise through the minors and played particularly well on the West Coast, and traded to the Yankees. Comes in, it makes essentially a murderer's row with Aaron Judge and Gleyber Torres, and I mean, it was absolutely insane, that lineup this year. And now he gets to join a Mets team that has former Cleveland baseball fan favorite, Mr. Smiles, Francisco Lindor, and a very young, up-and-coming New York Mets squad, which is very exciting. Now, the thing I think people need to understand is that 765 isn't the contract. He has an opt-out clause after year 5 where he would still get paid by the Mets to not play for him. But if he opts in, that deal then becomes worth in excess of $800 million. He'll be getting paid average annual value of $50 to $51 million a year. When Anthony and I calculated that, he will be making $34,069 an inning. Absolutely insane money. Now, a lot of people ask, why do MLB players get these contracts? Well, it's very simple. There's two reasons. So, unlike the NBA and unlike the NFL, Major League Baseball doesn't have a salary cap. They don't have a salary floor either. So, it's literally whatever the team owner and front office want to spend. So, you see in the MLB now, it started really, in my opinion, when Bryce Harper signed his huge deal with the Philadelphia Phillies. And then this deal comes along. Now, there have been some other outliers. There have been numerous contracts that you kind of look at and you say, well, how do you get that? You know what I mean? There's a young kid from the Seattle Mariners. I don't even remember his name. But he played less than a full season, but he was just so young and they didn't want to lose him that they signed him to one of the richest deals in baseball history. Juan Soto, being 26 years old and now making this money, he will make this money until he's 41 years old. Okay? $800 million, which begs the question, why are MLB teams allowed? Not why are they allowed, but why are they able to spend this kind of money? And it's very simple. So the MLB gets money from different revenue sources, streaming sources, because there are numerous apps that the MLB utilizes. Yes, Yankees Entertainment Sports Network, for one. The Yankees literally have their own streaming service. Bally Sports for the Cleveland-based teams. So the Guardians are on Bally Sports, right? ESPN, TBS, Fox, all these other channels play baseball games on repeat. There's 162 games per team per year. So that's a lot of ad revenue that the team makes from not just the games, but also commercials, endorsements, jersey sales, the $22 hot dog at the ballpark, the $15 beer. You know, all that money goes right back to the team and pays these salaries, pays the leases on the stadium, everything. So they're literally spending money to make money. $765 million for Juan Soto. And the New York market is absolutely insane. And it's not just the New York market. Baseball is truly an international sport now. The Dominican Republic, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Japan, China, South Korea, all these countries now, baseball has become very globalized in that regard. It's not just players coming over here, it's these people watching from other countries and spending that money there to get these jerseys, to get the streaming apps, so they can come over and see the game in person. A truly international game has now parlayed this into happening. Juan Soto set a bar yesterday. He set a very high bar. I believe within the next 2 years, there is going to be a player that signs $1 billion contract. There will be a player that signs $1 billion contract within 2 years. I have ideas on who it could be. I think a name to watch out for is Elly De La Cruz, from the Cincinnati Reds. Elly has so much potential. He was a superstar the moment he walked onto the field for the Reds and hit his inside the park home run. The sky is the limit for that kid, and I think if there will be $1 billion contract, Elly De La Cruz will get that deal. It definitely won't be from the Reds. I'll tell you that right now, because the Reds won't spend that money. Excuse me, but I think it's not out of the realm of possibility, and I'm not opposed to that. I'm really not opposed to someone getting that type of money, because these guys play 162 games a year. The season ends in October, sometimes beginning of November. And then pitchers and catchers report for spring training at the end of February, and spring training begins mid-March. So the NFL, for instance, season ends in February, and training camp begins end of July, beginning of August. So that's March, April, May, June, July. That's 5 months in between. You have December, January, February. You have 3 months between for baseball, and it spans the whole year, and it's all over the country. Multiple games away. There's not like the NFL, you're gone 1 week and you're home the next. No, like you're in a different city literally every 3 days. It's wild. And these guys are playing very long games. The games were so long at one point that they decided that they had to put pitch timers on so that these guys could shorten the games, because you were going to a 4-hour game, 5-hour game. I never minded. I love going to the ballpark and getting hammered, ham bone drunk, and watching baseball, especially at the Guardians Stadium, the drink rails where you pay $15 and you just stand there and you get $5 off your first beer, and they're great seats. My buddy Jeremy, friend of the show, Jeremy Vincenzo, introduced me to that. Shout out Jeremy and Fire Chicken. If he wouldn't have introduced me to that, I would not have gone to the Guardians games I went to this year. But they're a blast, and that's another reason why I don't mind it, because baseball is one of the most pure sports that there are. I understand the steroid scandal. I lost a lot of heroes because of the Mitchell report with the steroid scandal. But baseball is a game that I can talk about with my dad, that I can talk about with my coworkers, I can talk about with my friends, or a dude randomly at the supermarket that sees my Guardians cap, right? It brings people together. You can be at the game, you could be chatting with your buddy, you could be eating a hot dog and not pay attention for 5 minutes and then look back over and you know exactly what's going on. Baseball is the best sport that there is to go watch and be a part of. I think it's the most accessible, and it's just the best one. I had no problem spending $120 on a Tristan McKenzie jersey this past year because I like Tristan McKenzie. He'll probably never pitch for the Guardians again, but I don't care because I watched Tristan McKenzie pitch at the last game that the Cleveland baseball team was called the Indians at my bachelor party. Anthony was there for it. We watched them shut the stadium down as the Indians for the last time, and it was emotional. You know, it was really emotional because a team I grew up loving was no longer going to be the Indians. But it doesn't matter because we have baseball, and baseball's all that matters. It's not the name on the jersey. It's the city that it represents, right? And Juan Soto going to the Big Apple, staying in the Big Apple, I should say, and wearing a different color jersey and different pinstripes than he was 3 months ago is going to ignite a rivalry like we've never seen before between the Yankees and the Mets. The Subway Series just got good again, guys. Especially if the Mets can bring back Pete Alonso. It is going to be an absolute banger of a series anytime the Yankees go into Manhattan and anytime that the Mets go into the Bronx. It's going to be absolutely insane. I'm really excited to see it. Shout out Juan Soto for getting your money, dog. You deserve it. At 26 years old, you're going to be 41 years old when that contract's up. You probably will have a couple years of baseball left in you. And if you don't, fuck it. Retire and live off that money, dog. Put it all in the bank and live off the interest. Who cares? You could buy a Bugatti cash with that interest. You know what I mean? Like, just enjoy yourself. Shout out to you for doing something that so many young men and women have dreamt of their entire life. Parlaying your love of a game into a massive payday. Good for you, dude. So now we're going to move on to another topic. And I'm really excited to get into this one. Anthony, what do we got next? What are we bringing up next, brother?
Big bets.
The big bet. All right. So anyone who knows me knows I like to gamble. I enjoy gambling on sports. A very good friend of mine and the first guest we ever had on this show, John Butchko, once told me, I called him and I said, dude, listen, I've been losing on my parlays a lot. I don't know what to do. And he said, put in another one. And so I did, and I won. And I said, I'm about to cash out. And he says, don't. The parlay never stops. You just keep parlaying it into something else. So I did. I ended up losing my ass on it, but it was all good because of the thrill of it, right? Well, there was a thrill going on yesterday. And part of the reason I wore this Eagles jersey ain't just to show my boy Michael Vick some love, but because yesterday, a high roller ponied up $3.1 million on the Philadelphia Eagles money line, which is minus 700 versus the Carolina Panthers. All the Eagles had to do was beat the heavy underdog. And that dude was going to win $442,000. Okay? Now, I hope you watched that game yesterday, because if you were that dude, your asshole was puckered in the most insane way. You could throw a piece of coal up that and you're about to get a 20-carat diamond after that game, man, because the Eagles are winning, and then for the past couple weeks, I don't know what it's been, but Bryce Young has turned into Eli Manning level of comeback kid when he's down in the fourth quarter. He almost beats the Chiefs a couple weeks ago, for Christ's sake. He's just slinging it down the field to Adam Thielen, right, left and right, just boom, boom, boom. I got you, white boy. And then at the end, he throws a bomb to their good old boy rookies from South Carolina, Xavier Legette, and Legette doesn't catch it, but there was a flag on the play. So then Bryce Young gets one more shot, right? There was a drop pass to end the game. If Bryce Young completes that pass and then the receiver gets out of bounds, they got 4 more downs with like 30 seconds to go, and Bryce Young can do it. He showed his maneuverability in the pocket, everything like that. Shout out Bryce Young for coming on strong recently. I thought he was the biggest dog shit pick in the NFL draft of the past 5 years. He's proven me wrong. The stats aren't showing it. The scores aren't showing it, but he has improved week over week. And shout out to the guy who had the balls to put $3.1 million on a game, because I'm going to tell you something. I don't care how big the underdog is in the NFL. Any given Sunday, anything can happen. There's a whole movie based around that concept with Al Pacino and fucking Jamie Foxx called Any Given Sunday. Great film if you haven't seen it, but the whole premise is on any given Sunday, anything can happen. And it almost did. That dude almost lost $3.1 million because Bryce Young decided to drop his balls that day and throw some tutties. So let's recap some NFL games. We're going to get it on the screen behind me, in front of me, to the side, whatever, up here. We're good. All right, so we're going to start with the Saints and Giants game. I don't know what's going on in New York. I don't know if Brian Daboll forgot how to coach, but he's not getting their stud receiver, Malik Neighbors, any chance to catch a fucking football anymore. I don't know what's going on. They start Drew Lock, who was absolutely atrocious in Seattle and Denver. They'll give Tommy DeVito a shot for a little bit, but for some reason, they just won't stick with him. I don't understand what's going on, but shout out to the Saints for overcoming all the injuries they've had all year. Chris Olave out again with concussion issues. Rashid Shaheed fucked his hip up, I believe. Derek Carr literally has no one to throw to, and there's a fear that Derek Carr has just fractured his right hand, his throwing hand. So all these injuries, everything going on. The one constant is Taysom Hill, positionless football, and Alvin Kamara running the football, and Dennis Allen calling a good game. I know that the Saints aren't probably going to make the playoffs, and they probably aren't going to do much of anything over the next 3 years while they're figuring out this roster construction. They were really strangleheld by Michael Thomas, Ohio State alum, and that huge cat figure that he had. The motherfucker looks like Olmec from Legends of the Hidden Temple, but God, could he catch a football when he was healthy. He just couldn't stay healthy. So now in this offseason, the Saints need to go. They need to evaluate if Derek Carr is actually the guy, and they need to get some help on that offensive line, that defensive line, and add another receiver, because Rashid Shaheed should not be your number 2 option. He should be your slot 3 at the most. You need to go out there. You need to get someone like Luther Burden from Missouri who's going to come out there and make some catches for you. Now, let's go to a game that went to fucking overtime that I never saw coming, was the Jets and the Dolphins. Aaron Rodgers needs to go on another ayahuasca trip, man, because he was doing great yesterday. He was throwing to Devontae Adams. He was making points, but Tua's had so many fucking concussions over the last 2 years. I think it's finally knocked some sense into him because he's being smarter with the football. He gets it to Tyreek Hill a few times yesterday, but he also is finally targeting his tight end, and he's using the cadre of running backs he has, Devon Achane, Jalen Wright, and unfortunately he was out, but Raheem Mostert, to really support a high-octane, high-powered, fast offense, the likes of which we haven't seen since Chip Kelly was coaching at Oregon. I think that's it's the most comparable to. Devon Achane yesterday cleaned up. He had 4 receptions for 30-something yards, and he ran for 76. He had over 100 all-purpose yards. He's doing the damn thing. Aaron Rodgers needs to figure out if he still wants to play football, and if he does want to play football, does he still stay in New York? Because New York is going nowhere fast. They refuse to address offensive line issues. They have let their defense stagnate over the past 2-3 seasons. They fire Robert Saleh. They don't have a direction on where they're going as a head coach. I think they were planning on Bill Belichick maybe interviewing this offseason, but now all signs are pointing to Bill Belichick being the head coach of the University of North Carolina Tar Heels. Wild. The Titans and Jaguars. Everyone said on Thanksgiving that the nap they were going to take during the Cowboys and Giants game was going to be legendary. No, the nap that you should have taken during the Jaguars-Titans game would have been legendary. Mac Jones does not deserve to be winning football games. And for some reason, Will Levis couldn't hit the broadside of a fucking barn with a football if he's 2 feet in front of it. I don't know what's going on out there. They went out this offseason. They got Calvin Ridley. They did lose Derek King Henry, but they have a good running back rotation of Tony Pollard, who came over from the Dallas Cowboys, and drafting Tyjae Spears a few years ago from Tulane University. I mean, they have a very versatile offense. They don't have a very good offensive line, despite Dave Callahan, the head coach. His dad, Bill Callahan, was the offensive line coach of the Cleveland Browns for years, and now he's there with his son. The results aren't showing. The results just aren't there. And after that horrible hit that Trevor Lawrence took last week from Al-Shahir Shaheed or something, like whatever his name is, that got him suspended for the next 3 games, the Jaguars had every reason to come out and throw the season and just tank to get into the Travis Hunter sweepstakes. But they came out and they won. Calvin Ridley came from the Jaguars last offseason. Calvin Ridley's a great receiver, and they're not utilizing him the right way. They're not utilizing any offensive weapons the right way, and the problem starts with Will Levis. Maybe the dude needs to stop doing all the mayonnaise and start thinking about, winning fucking football games, because that's what the point of being a quarterback is to win a football game. And I don't think you're going anywhere fast with Will Levis. I think the Titans need to ship him off, cut their losses, and look in free agency, not the NFL draft. Look in free agency for a quarterback, because you're not getting anywhere. Shadur Sanders ain't coming there. Cam Ward ain't going there. Are you going to hold out until round 3 to pick Drew Allar from Penn State if he declares? Are you going to pick Quinn Ewers in round 2 if he declares? Those are developmental quarterbacks. You don't have the luxury of time when you're in the AFC South to hold off. You need to start going now, because the division is winnable. Every team should be just clawing to get there. And the Titans aren't doing it. We talked about the Eagles game. Let's talk about the Vikings and Falcons real quick. I want to shout out my boy, Sam Darnold. Real quick. Nobody fucking wanted this dude, man. He gets drafted number 3 overall by the New York Jets in the Baker Mayfield draft. He gets cut. He spends some time in San Francisco. And he goes to Minnesota. Minnesota drafts J.J. McCarthy this past season, the national championship quarterback from the University of Michigan. And he hurts himself. Sam Darnold comes out, starts lighting it up, dog. Throwing to Jay Jettas, Justin Jefferson. He's got Aaron Jones at running back behind him. He's got a solid-ass offensive line, and he's got a young man by the name of Jordan Addison. Now, if you guys are fantasy football players, in one of my leagues that I have Sam Darnold in, Sam Darnold put up a 50-burger for me last night, and Jordan Addison put up 39.3 points. They were dominating it the whole time. Now, I didn't think that the Vikings were going to win. I'm in a pick'em league, and I had the Falcons winning because Kirk Cousins, played for the Vikings for years and didn't stay with the team. So I thought it was going to be a nice revenge game, especially Kirk Cousins coming off of a 4-interception game last week. He's going to come back and try to do a little bit more. I think now you are seeing Kirk Cousins regressing. They drafted Michael Penix Jr. in the top 10. I think that this would be a perfect scenario, as we were talking about earlier, with the Tennessee Titans. You throw a third-round draft pick, maybe a couple other sweeteners in the deal to get Kirk Cousins to come out there, your game manager quarterback, and allow the Falcons to start the young man Michael Penix Jr. I think that that's going to be a fix for both franchises. I think that Penix adds a level of diversity to that backfield with Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. It'll allow a more run-based type thing that we're seeing like with the Baltimore Ravens right now, who are on a bye week. It'll be a great thing if we could get a rushing quarterback reminiscent of number 7 that played for the Falcons for a few years before his snafu, Michael Vick. So I think I just solved some problems for some NFL teams. I think that they should hire me to be fucking general manager. I don't know. I'm just saying. Let's shout out someone else, guys. Let's shout out Baker motherfucking Mayfield, dog. Going home and playing at home in Tampa Bay against the Raiders and just shit on them motherfuckers, man. Aiden O'Connell gets hurt. He can't do shit. Gardner Minshew, a.k.a. Mac from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, is hurt. The Raiders are on their 3rd-string quarterback right now, bro. Listen, Baker Mayfield came in after, again, like Sam Darnold, nobody wanted him. He's on his Baker Mayfield's on his 4th team because Browns, Panthers, Rams, now Buccaneers. And he's doing great. Baker Mayfield actually leads the NFL in touchdown passes from this past week going back to the last week of the 2023 season. He has over 52 in that span. Or so I read. But Baker has completely turned that around. We talked about culture with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Baker Mayfield is a culture setter. He set a culture in Cleveland. He didn't set it in Carolina, but he was kind of set up to fail from the beginning. And then he gets signed by the Rams on a Wednesday, comes into town on Thursday at like 5 a.m. and starts the game because Matthew Stafford's injured and throws a game-winning touchdown pass to win the fucking game. Baker Mayfield is that guy. Okay? He is that guy. And he's getting guys involved like Bucky Irving, young guy, young gun. Rashad White, young gun. And then he's got the old guard, Mike Evans. Throwing to him, baby. And then Cade Otton, that tight end, who's taken over the Rob Gronkowski role of the receiving tight end. It is fucking beautiful to see, especially with a retooled defense and Antoine Winfield out there just making plays. The Buccaneers are going to go on a run, guys. If I were you, I'd lock in Buccaneers money line next week. I would. They're not resting anyone. They're trying to win this division outright. What other games we got, Anth, that we need to recap? The Seahawks and the Cardinals, and the 49ers and the Bears. All right, so there isn't much to say about the Seahawks game except that Geno Smith's balling. Zach Charbonnet coming in for Kenneth Walker III. That boy put up 46 points for me in fantasy yesterday. Zach Charbonnet deserves to be running back 1 in Seattle going forward the rest of the year. The UCLA product, the young man, needs to take over Kenneth Walker's spot. He adds a completely new dimension to the offense. You pair him, Geno, Jackson Smith and Jigba, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett together, you have a dynamic offense. Now, Tyler Lockett put up a 0 burger for me yesterday in fantasy, but that's okay. That's okay. We can't all be perfect. The Cardinals are plagued by poor decisions on the offensive side of the ball. They feed James Conner, which they should. They just gave Conner a 2-year, $19 million extension. Fantastic. I like that. Keep your workhorse in there while you bring Trey Benson in, the rookie that you drafted from Florida State this past year, a little bit more organically. Let him get some touches and keep it good. But they're criminally underusing Marvin Harrison Jr. If Marvin Harrison Jr. gets targeted more, if Trey McBride gets targeted more, Cardinals win these games. They are losing winnable games. 49ers Bears, there's really not much to say. Caleb Williams is fucking atrocious. Rome Odunze, though, the rookie receiver that they drafted to pair with Williams, is the truth. He had 2 tutties yesterday. Praise him. But shout out Kyle Shanahan, dog, because Brandon Ayuk, number 1 receiver's injured. Deebo Samuel ain't doing shit. Christian McCaffrey, best running back in the NFL, is hurt. All you have is George Kittle and your defense, and you're still balling, dude. Shout out Kyle Shanahan. He's the reason that they're winning. All right, 2 more games to talk about before we finish this up tonight, guys, with some more football talk. I'm not going to talk about the first game at the top of this yet. I'm going to start with the Chiefs and Chargers. The NFL just wants the Chiefs to win. There were so many blatant missed calls yesterday that it's disgusting. Justin Herbert has turned into a very effective quarterback, and I love what he's doing with the absence of Ladd McConkey. Quentin Johnson really did try to show out yesterday. Gus Edwards really was moving the pile, and the Chargers defense looks the part of a top 5 defense. They held Travis Kelce to 45 receiving yards yesterday. Travis Kelce is having a bit of a pedestrian year. But they made Mahomes look pedestrian as well. The NFL wants the Chiefs to be good so bad they are calling bad games so that Mahomes wins. I am fully convinced of it. You will not convince me of it otherwise. If you guys saw something that I didn't in the chat, please let me know. But the game of the night. The game of the night. Rams Bills. And guys, it did not disappoint. It did not disappoint. My question is, how does a quarterback throw 3 touchdowns and run for 3 touchdowns and lose? There becomes the operating question. Matthew Stafford is a prolifically good game manager. Matthew Stafford won a Super Bowl by being a game manager. Kyren Williams is a above average running back. He is the so you have your big 3 shoes of Nike, Reebok, and Adidas, but then you have like your almost theirs, like your New Balance. Kyren Williams is the New Balance Nick Chubb when Nick Chubb was in his prime. Cooper Kupp, little white boy, still doing his thing. Puka Nacua with 150 plus receiving yards yesterday. That boy from BYU can do the fucking thing, man. All great things. But it is very disappointing to see a guy like Josh Allen who has pulled in amazing performances the last 2 weeks. Last week, guys, he caught a touchdown pass. This man is the MVP of the NFL, hands down. Nobody is doing more with less than Josh Allen is right now. Josh Allen is that fucking guy. He's that guy. I think Josh Allen needs to get a top flight receiver to really go to that next level. To really ascend, Josh Allen needs a top flight receiver. And I think that there is one guy out there that would be perfect for Josh Allen. Absolutely perfect. And I don't think it'll ever happen. In fact, I know it won't happen. But if Josh Allen had CeeDee Lamb from the Cowboys on his team, you're winning a Super Bowl. You're winning with all the talent that's around there. If you just add CeeDee Lamb into that room, because make no mistake, that running back room of James Cook and Ty Johnson, Ray Davis, Frank Gore Jr. is young, and they switch in and out. No one's getting tired in that room. Khalil Shakir, Matt Collins, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, very pedestrian players, but play a very good role. If you can get an elite receiver like CeeDee Lamb in there, you are winning a fucking Super Bowl. And last night, Josh Allen showed that he is not afraid to do the dirty work and get in there. It's just the Rams were just a little bit better that night. But it was one of the best games I've seen all year. And I would love to see that game as a rematch in the Super Bowl. If not, I would love to see the Bills and the Lions play each other. That would be absolutely astounding. Lake Erie Bros, dude. Lake Erie Bros. That'd be fantastic. So let's finish up the night, guys. I've talked enough about the NFL. I want to finish.
Tom, I want your prediction. What? Who's winning the Super Bowl? Who's going and who's winning?
I think that the Lions are going to play the Bills in the Super Bowl. And I think the Lions win it. Jared Goff was in the Super Bowl when he was on the Rams and he lost. So how beautiful would it be that Jared Goff gets to a Super Bowl with his new team? Because remember, Matthew Stafford played for the Lions at the beginning of his career and then went to the Rams and won a Super Bowl. So how beautiful would it be if Jared Goff leaves the Rams to go to the Lions and wins a Super Bowl? That'd be amazing. That'd be poetic. And he has the running backs to do it. He's got Sonic and he's got Knuckles, David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. He's got the Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, there are pieces on that team that goes to great success. They actually just got Zadarius Smith from the Cleveland Browns a few weeks ago. They traded for him, a great defensive end to supplant Aiden Hutchinson while he recovers from his injury. They got a great defensive backfield. I think that the Lions are going to make it from the NFC, and I think that it's going to be the Bills because I think if you throw Josh Allen against Patrick Mahomes right now, Josh Allen has more confidence than Patrick Mahomes does. And I think if you throw Josh Allen against Lamar Jackson, Lamar Jackson's going to get flustered. Lamar Jackson wins at home. He doesn't win on the road. Lamar Jackson falters and loses. Josh Allen and the Bills versus Jared Goff and the Lions. Lions win it. But that's right now. That's right now. We still have 3 weeks left of the NFL season. So a lot can change. A lot can change. And I think it's going to be a little bit more fair, Anthony, when we get to the end of the season, when we have our big football show, like playoff preview, you know, I'm going to be a little bit more confident in those decisions when we get to there. So the college football playoff bracket got announced. We're going to talk about that to end the show, but I wanted to talk about the best game I saw on Saturday, guys. I am a college football nut. I'm a college football is right behind baseball for me. In fact, it might be in front of baseball as my favorite sport. Okay. I love college football so much that I remember where I was for certain things with college football. I don't remember that any other sport, but I remember in 2003 being with my dad in our living room watching Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart and Lendell White play for the Trojans. I remember when Cardell Jones came in and had to lead the Ohio State Buckeyes to the national champion. I remember what I was doing. I remember what I was wearing. I remember all that. College football to me is the greatest thing ever. And shout out, before we get into the game, shout out to the Ohio Bobcats for winning the MAC championship. They haven't done that since 1968. They haven't won a conference title since 1968. The Ohio Bobcats, shout out to you. Shout out to Athens, Ohio. That place is partying this whole week, guaranteed. So good for you guys. But the big game of Saturday, the big game, was the Oregon Ducks versus the Penn State Nittany Lions. Anthony, there should be a box score up there. I'd like you to pull that up for me, please. There's another one. There should be one other one, buddy. And if there's not, I apologize. I might have fucked up. No, there's not. I fucked up. All right, cool. So, what was the score of that game, Anthony? Can you pull it up for us, please, baby? I was just really killing time to kill my Coke. All right, so 45-37. The number 1 Ducks take down the number 3 Nittany Lions in a thriller. Literally came down to Drew Allar fucking up and incompleting the pass. He didn't complete it. Drew Allar is from the state of Ohio. Drew Allar was a top recruit in the nation, decided to go to Penn State. He goes 20 for 39 in the game. He has 226 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But Drew Allar is supplemented by 2 great running backs, especially number 10, Nick Singleton, who many are saying is the second coming of Saquon Barkley. 10 rushes for 105 yards. 10 rushes for 105 yards. His cohort in the backfield rushes 14 times for 124 yards with 1 touchdown. So let's think about this. You got 24 rushes for 229 yards and a touchdown. How do you not win the game? How do you not win the game? I'm going to tell you how you don't win the game. Because the Oregon Ducks are top to bottom one of the best constructed rosters in college football today. Dillon Gabriel, number 8, the leader of men on that team, 22 for 32, 283 yards, 4 tutties, no interceptions. Rushes 6 times for 17 yards. Complete control of the game and is within striking distance of being the all-time leading passer in college football history. Dillon Gabriel played at the University of Oklahoma, transferred out because he wasn't getting the respect that he deserved. He goes to Oregon. Oregon is in the news for everything right now because they just stole one of the best corner defensive back recruits in the nation from Ohio State, Naheem Oford, because Phil Knight offered to make him a shoe. That's why Oregon is going to continue to exude success over the next few years, because Oregon has the backing of Nike. Phil Knight has Oregon's back implicitly, and I ain't even mad at it. You guys seen them fucking jerseys? Those are sick. Oregon is one of the best constructed rosters, and they're going to continue to be one of the best constructed rosters, and they're going to be an absolute problem in the Big Ten because Oregon leaves the Pac-12 and goes to the Big Ten. Now, really funny story here, guys. We're looking at the college football bracket right now. Anthony's going to pull that up here. So you see Oregon's the number 1 seed, Arizona State's the number 4 seed. Right? Everyone can see that. That's plain as day. Arizona State wins the Big 12. Oregon wins the Big 10. This is also Arizona State's first year in the Big 12 and Oregon's first year in the Big 10. They came from the Pac-12, which is no longer a conference, because they said the level of competition in the Pac-12 was nothing. You have 2 teams They came from the Pac-12 into new conferences and won those conferences. I don't think the Pac-12 had a lack of talent. I think the Pac-12 had a lack of backing and a lack of support and didn't want to exist as an entity anymore. All you have now is Washington State and Oregon State as your Pac-2 members, and they're looking at rebuilding the Pac-12. They absolutely need to. They need to take these smaller schools like Wyoming, Nevada. They need to take Idaho, Utah State, bring them into the Pac-12 and start giving them burn, right? The parity in college football is like none other, and we are looking right now at this bracket. Clemson is playing Texas in the first round. Texas is hosting them at home. Quinn Ewers in what could be his last home game, either going to the NFL or transferring out, because there is a young man there named Arch Manning who is waiting to take over. Cade Klubnik, one of the greatest quarterbacks in the ACC right now, is waiting to tear up that Longhorn defense. Tennessee is coming into the shoe December 21st at 8 o'clock. OH.
I.O.
Thank you, baby. Ohio State is looking to avenge their dog shit loss to Michigan by beating Tennessee. Now, Ohio State has just found out that their backup quarterback, Devin Brown, will be transferring. He entered the transfer portal, which opened today at noon. Devin Brown did say, however, that he is going to stay with the team through the playoff and be there if needed. That's a fucking Buckeye, guys. That's a Buckeye. That's what we love to see. That's what we love to see. I'm going to miss number 33 lining up at quarterback every once in a while. The most unorthodox number 4 quarterback that there is outside of Michigan's fuckboy that wore number 96, Devin Gardner. That was weird as fuck. But he wore that because of Sammy Baugh. I don't know. He said his family has a connection to him. But the Tennessee-Ohio State game is going to get even more interesting because David Sanders, the number 1 tackle recruit in the country, was between Ohio State and Tennessee. And he signed with Tennessee a couple days ago. So what could have been the David Sanders Bowl now means a little bit more because Ohio State is going to be playing for its life. Because Ryan Day, if he loses in the first round, you fire that guy on the field. You don't even let him go back into the locker room. You just fire him. It's natty or bust for Ohio State. SMU's going into Penn State. Indiana's going to Notre Dame. Now I'm going to give you my predictions here. I'm going to give you my predictions live on air. Texas is going to beat Clemson. Ohio State is going to beat Tennessee. That's going to be a close game. But Will Howard is going to do everything he fucking can to win that game. SMU is going to pull the upset on Penn State. Notre Dame is going to dog walk Indiana. Okay. Texas against Arizona State. Texas with the upset beats Arizona State. I think that the Longhorns are just too good to fail against a team like Arizona State. Another upset. Will Howard atones for the clock mismanagement earlier this year and defeats Oregon in the closest game that comes down to a field goal that we have seen. The Buckeyes prevail 23-20 over the Oregon Ducks, knocking them out of the playoff. That's no homerism right there. I just see it happening. Who did I pick SMU Penn State?
I'm not sure. Who do you think?
I think I said Penn. I know. In fact, I know I said Penn State. Penn State is going to beat Boise State. Ashton Genty deserves to be the Heisman winner. He is the running back from Boise State that is setting all the records and is within a piss distance, within a C hair of beating Barry Sanders' record. But Boise State has not played anyone other than Oregon that is near the competition level of Penn State. I think Penn State wins. Notre Dame, Georgia. Fuck the Catholics. I'm going Georgia all day. Fuck Notre Dame. Fuck Notre Dame. Because Notre Dame will not join a conference. They want to remain independent. Well, guess what? Fuck you. So then we're going to have Georgia, Penn State, and Ohio State, Texas. I'm going to go Texas over Ohio State to secure their spot in the national title game. And then I'm going to go Georgia over Penn State to secure their spot in the national title game. Texas, Georgia. Guess what, guys? Texas is your national champion. Now, a lot of people are going to be talking to me saying and shitting on me because Carson Beck just got hurt. He's the quarterback at Georgia, and he's the one who, been throwing the touchdowns. Hey, you guys haven't heard of Gunnar Stockton. Gunnar Stockton is going to show why he's next man up at the University of Georgia. He's going to come in there, and he's going to do the damn thing. The other thing you guys aren't thinking, if Quinn Ewers sucks, he's going to get pulled, and they are going to do the most Hollywood thing in the world, and Arch Manning is going to come in and introduce himself formally to the college football world and win a national title. That's going to be Arch Manning quarterbacking that team. Arch Manning's going to win it this year. He's going to come back next year, and Texas is going to repeat as national champions because Texas just got one of the most prolific recruiting classes that we've seen. So I'm calling it right now. The University of Texas is winning the national championship. Ohio State fires Ryan Day. Right after the game. He fires him. Next week, we're going to talk about who I think Ohio State would hire realistically. Well, no, we're not, because I talked about that last week. It'd be Mike Vrabel. So Vrabel would come in, and that would happen. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in with us this week. It's been an awesome time talking football and everything with you, talking Juan Soto, talking the Cavs. I've really enjoyed it. I'm really blessed that you guys have decided to join us again. Don't forget to like the video, comment on the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue to bring you fantastic content every week. Thank you very much to Anthony, our producer, and thank you to our sponsors at crackedrepair.com, or visit him at the Ashtabula Town Square. I'm Tom. I'm saying goodnight to you guys. You've all made the cut.